Okay, I'm gonna try to mess with how this looks. And alright, so I'm gonna try out streaming. Just a bit of practice. Sorry if that was loud. So this is mainly for me to figure out, what kind of issues I should be fixing uh, in the main videos. So if you have any suggestions, feel free to type them into chat and I'll take a look at them later. There's a limit to the number of things I can multitask with, so I may or may not be looking at chat while I do this. I also don't really have a good way to look at chat because my Android Studio is usually full screen. So Android Studio is all you can see over there, but it's the only open pane, so you won't see my 3000 tabs in Firefox. So just trust that I do have 3000 tabs in Firefox and open them without concern for RAM, which is precisely why I have this laptop. So let me just share this link with some fun people, and which you can't see me doing. You can see me move my mouse and click around Android Studio randomly, but it's actually YouTube. Oh, Can't See Dogs is streaming at the same time. Nice. So how do I even share? Where is my link even? My channel. And yeah, live stream. There it is. I'm watching my own live stream during my live stream. Okay. It's live streaming now. Oh, and just a bit of advice for those of you who feel that you don't know anything when you're coding. You probably know a lot, and you 100% for sure know something that the person you're coding with does not. This happens to me all the time. I see juniors who are like, oh wow, that's a cool new technique. And of course, there's a lot of my stuff they don't know, but that doesn't matter, because whatever you know, it's enough to get your work done. It's probably enough to get your work done. So just chill and do your thing. Don't bother about what you don't know. You need to focus on what you actually know. I'm just going to tell this person. And now back to the actual code. So this is I forgot what I was doing here. Let me just quickly open up Git and see what's up. It looks like I just added the navigation module in there, and I was messing around with live data. What the heck? Android Studio just disappeared. Amazing! I wonder if it'll come back on the stream automatically if I just start it up again. I'm so happy that I got this on a live stream. That's fun. So it's starting up. What? You don't see it? Why isn't it? So this is a nice Android Studio loading splash screen, and does it realize that it should do it? Oh yeah, it does. Fantastic, great. Alright, it's loading up again. Cool. Just waiting for that. I'm actually watching I'm watching OBS Studio to see what's happening with Android Studio. Okay, looks like we're done loading. Now, back to what I was actually doing. Let's look at Git, because if you've seen my talk, you know this is how I keep track of what the hell I was doing, because I don't remember. And okay, looks like I was doing something with the navigation module, which is and I was separately trying to fix a different issue. This is bad, kids. Don't do this. Now you have too many things in your Git history and you don't know what the heck you're actually supposed to do. So in this case, I have done a thing which I've done a million times before, which is uncheck everything from staged, which Android Studio is lying when you just open the Git thing and it tells you something is staged. So I should probably change that UID string to something else. But we don't really have a name for that, do we? Oh, let me see if I can do some kind of reflection stuff to get this UID replaced. I wonder, does the so this is a UID from the goals class, I think. Is it goals? I think I call it something like goals. Do I have autocomplete here? I do not. So I'm, oh no, wait, I do. So I want the, wait, what the heck? Okay, anyway, let's just get into the actual Android Studio and mess around with it there. Goals list live data. So goals list, oops, GLL. So this is a really cool thing about the way shortcuts work in the double shift thing. If you type just the first letter of whatever's capital in your class, it'll find it. Like as you can see, I type GLL and it's goals list live data finds the right class. So I could press enter, but I'm clicking on it just to show you. So where was I? I have a UID here, yeah. So actually I'm getting this, the name UID is coming from the goal class. Is it goals? It's goal, yeah. It's coming from the goal class. So I'm going to see if I can just, you know, get the variable name from some sort of meta thing in Kotlin. I'm sorry if that's not very clear. As I try to do this stuff, you'll probably see what I'm talking about. Where's my thing though? So it should be in declared fields, and it should be in the, oh my god, it's a set. That's unfortunate. Oh, it's all component 1, component 2 and all of this stuff. I was hoping it would actually have the name of the field. That would be great. That would be an amazing thing to just, like, you know, add in there. So yeah, anyway, like, this is professional Android development. You can see that it's a lot of, hey, what options do I have, and let's look at autocomplete to see what you get. So it looks like I can't actually get, hey, there's fields. Is this different from what I was on before? Maybe I was. Why can't I find out a field? Like, come on, show me a field. There has to be a UID thing. Come on. Well, I'm sure component whatever's, these are the actual field things. Is there like a name? Yeah, so you have a name, but component 1 refers to what? Let me just click, and that's no help at all. So I think component 1 is all of your stuff, right? So there should be 3 components as I imagine them. There are 5. Great, already wrong. I'm just going to go quickly look at the documentation to see what a Kotlin component 1 and all of this stuff is. I'm just googling it. That's it's a blah blah, it's backing field something. So it's like, what is the component? Destruction declarations, component 1 returns the key component of the blah blah blah. Okay, data classes actually have their own reference for this, and I'm looking through the Kotlin docs right now. Just control F the component, blah blah blah. If a supertype has the component end functions that are open and return compatible types, the corresponding functions are generated for the data class. So okay, so it's even the other way around. It's not that components are generated for functions, functions are generated for the components. But anyway, what is it? Component function generated for data classes enable their use in destructuring declarations. Okay, but I'm tempted to just use kreflect and see if that gets me what I want. But for now, I'm just going to go with UID, and for that we're going to step into this, and we're going to say that, isn't there a way to get, like, you know, the field name? It should be. There really should be a way to get the field name. We've got the K class. Oh, we can't even. No, the K class. there's this thing where you can see like the Kotlin represent. So right, if you do dot class of Java, you're looking at the Java representation, but you could just get the, oh yeah, arrows putting a whole lot of junk in my autocomplete. I should probably remove it if I'm not actually using it. Ooh, I didn't know it had all of this stuff. Data types are pretty vast in what they have. Java primitive type, blah blah blah, to option, exhausted. Exhausted? I didn't know that was on the data class too. Oh my god, Arrow is just ruining my autocomplete. So it looks like I don't actually have that, which is fine. Let's just stick to UID and we'll go ahead and commit that. So again, I have to uncommit that. Data. Sure, I need the UID. I need to say that this is equal to UID and Firebase user ID. Great. So it's still not ideal though, because now if I go and refactor that UID to anything else, like any reasonable person should be able to assume they can do, then this code will just stop working. But also if you do that, the Firebase connection will stop working. So a good way, actually, like, you know, we don't care that it is exactly this function name. So reflection, sure, it could work, but that's not what we want. What we care about is that its serialized name is the, wait, just is what we fail at serialized name. Anyway, so what we care about is that its serialized name is UID. So I care that it's const val. I should probably do this for all of them, and this would have eliminated the need for having keep over there, but yeah, it's a bit lazy that way. So let's say UID param is UID. Yeah, that's a global thingy. So what we really care about is synchronizing our serialized name to what this name is, which means this is now 100% accurate and refactor proof. Great. That's fantastic. So even if you go and muck about with the name later on, it'll be fine. And I also kind of like to just add these things separately. But no, the reason I added this is because I wanted to add this. So all of these things are very tightly connected, and therefore it's one atomic commit. To learn more about atomic commits, you can go look at my friend Pauline Voss's videos, or go look at my video at git merge. And now I'm going to stop mentioning it because I've mentioned it twice in this 10-minute video. Git merge was just a really fun experience for me. Such amazing people, such a wonderful environment. It's one of the things that made me consider getting a full-time job again rather than consulting. So it's just super great. And I went to speak at an event run by GitHub, which just blows my mind still. But yeah. All right. So what I did here was, always describe your do atomic commits and then describe them in a way that makes sense. So what I'm doing here is I actually am just filtering my list according to the goals where I own the UID. So show in goals list, show only goals, show only my goals, show only the owner's goals. Owner's goals, not all goals. So this also involves, oops, how I can't spell involves right. Okay, this also involves filtering by the goal UID, and this was made a fixed value by specifying its serialization, IALI serialization, such that it I don't know, it's not necessary to type all of that. This is the important stuff. So goes the slide data, now filters the stuff. Whoa, what? Where do I get that? User ID. Yeah, sure. You need a user ID. TK. Yeah, legit. Let's commit that. Look at all of that fancy stuff. Okay, now let's see where else I was. What else was I doing? Oh, I did the goals adapter. I don't know if this actually works. It's just some code I wrote. So a cool thing, so this actually demonstrates one of the really nice things. This actually, like many parts of this, demonstrates some of the nice things that you can do when you use a recycler view correctly. For instance, you'll notice that the on-click listener is set in the init, and you're wondering like, oh, but if it's set in init, how is it that you can pass in the data when it changes? And that is because of a section in the adapter view guidelines that pretty much everyone ignores. I'm not even sure it's called adapter, something about recycler view adapters. And the thing says, it's a very small line, like very nondescript, but it'll wreck your app if you don't pay attention to it, which is, do not pass in, like do not send the value which you give in bind when you're binding your view model, not view model, when you're binding your view holder, that data which you send in, you shouldn't use it in your on-click listener, because by that time the view could have been recycled. So what this means is that you call bind on it once, right? The view is recycled. It no longer refers to this thing. It refers to something else. So, but it didn't call bind again. So now when you click on it, you will get the data for something else. And what you're supposed to do is, as you can see down here, only call, so Kotlin has changed this get adapter position function call into like a property thing, but that's what it is actually. It's a function call for get adapter position. So anytime this view is clicked, I always want to get its current position and send it to my function. Oh, this is a super cool thing about functional programming. You can just say I want to receive a function that takes an int as a parameter and returns nothing. And when it calls get adapter position, it's going to send its current position into this function, which is the item clicked. And then in my adapter, I also take item clicked. But here's the thing. Now, so the goal of the adapter, the actual implementation of the functions is in the main VM. It is, I don't know, somewhere. So it's supposed to be in the main VM. And maybe it's in fragment. Oh yeah, it's in fragment. Blah blah, here it is, right, edit goal. So it links to the, yeah, that's a different view model. So I get, say, the edit goal function from the view model. When you put these two dots, you're saying I want the function, but I want to refer to a function, but I want to refer to it like a variable. So when you put the double dots, the double colons, it's referring to a function as a variable. So you can assign this function into a different variable. You can treat it just like you would with any other int or object or stuff like that. And now, so I take this function from the view model and I pass it into my adapter. And if you look inside the adapter, this is the function. And all it knows about this function, which it took from the view model, is that the function requires you to pass in a string and it gives you nothing back. And if you look at where is it? Oh yeah, so if you look at this, when I create my view holder, which if you remember was this, and it takes the adapter position, returns nothing, which I got from, which is actually a view model function. And what it's going to do is, it's going to receive, so item clicked, we already know from here, that is going to receive the adapter position. So the view holder only knows that it has to send its current position. The adapter takes this position and then calls the get on the data list for that position, and then it sends in the information to the function from the main VM. So normally you would have like a couple of interfaces in the middle mediating this process. But because we can use functional programming and treat functions as first class variables that we are passing around, the main VM only exposes the function that it needs and that it knows about. The main VM knows that, all right, I'm going to get an ID, and I'm going to call it a function called the edit goal. And then the view holder only knows that when it's clicked, it has to give its current position to whoever asks for it. And the adapter is the one bridging the gap between these two. So the adapter takes the data for that given position and then passes that to the view model. So each class only knows exactly as much as it needs to. The adapter doesn't know the implementation of how the view model does it, and it doesn't know what position or when it's going to be called from the view holder. So I think this is like a really fun way to do things which wasn't available to us before Kotlin, and I have now forgotten what I was in this class for. So while I know that that's probably going to work, I haven't written any tests, I haven't run this code, but yeah, I thought that was pretty interesting. And then you can do things like declare, like, by the way, this is just init, and then in my bind I only change the data. Is that the whole function? Let's go look at the whole function. Nothing is selected here. Okay. The goal holder, here it is. So yeah, basically what it does is just for my view which I've gotten, just apply the data binding. Actually, that's fine. So I'm going to commit like this app component thing because I needed this navigation module, but I wasn't passing it. Oops. What do I name this stuff? I'm going to call it adding a module I'd forgotten to add for the navigation. For navigation. So that's it. One modified, super important, because this thing goes around randomly staging stuff. I'm always nervous about what am I actually committing. So what is I doing in the factory? Ooh, I actually passed nav state, and then I would have used nav state here somehow. Yeah. Alright, that's useful. There's like so many different things in this. You should never do it this way. Okay, so now what this does is, it, instead of doing its own mutable live data, it takes it from the nav state, so it's a static for the entire application. This is probably the first time in many years of programming that I've had like a legitimate use case for a static object. The only legitimate use case I knew about it before was retrofit. You create one retrofit instance and you hold on to that. And this is super important because as long as you're holding on to the same instance of retrofit, it can recycle the threads and connections that you're using to make network calls. So if you make multiple instances of retrofit, you're going to use up drastically more network data, and it's going to take you longer than if you just held one instance of retrofit. So that gets to be a singleton. My application component gets to be a singleton, and now my nav state gets to be a singleton. Don't use statics, kids. They're bad for your health. So let's say that actually, yeah, so we are using the nav state. Instead of privately held data to navigate in main activity. Oops. That's going to go past the limit that GitHub can show, but let's say using nav state. Yeah, now we're right on the limit. Ta-da! This is why it helps to have really good English, because then you can write perfectly spaced commit messages. Yeah, that looks legit. Also, always read your diffs and make sure there's nothing in there that you don't want in there. That looks legit, 2 modified, and we're good. So let's see what else is over here. Finally, I like it when there's just a few files and you can see them all in just this section without having to scroll. Then you know you've actually not messed around with things too much. So this part is just about me making that connection. So making the connection between the view model and all the way down into the view holder for whatever it does. Thing is, I don't know if this code will work, and I need to either write a test or run it once to see if it actually does. And until that happens, I don't like to commit. So that's fun. I think I talked a lot about it in this video, and maybe I'm gonna take a break and go make my breakfast, and I'll get back to you folks later. Let me know if there's something in this video that you would like, something I want to change. If you're wondering what this black bar is doing down there, it's because my Android Studio is full screen and my status bar for Linux is set to auto hide. So some combination of this, even though it looks full screen on my computer, some combination of this results in a black bar over there. I don't know what's up. Yeah, so if there's anything you want to know, if there's anything you think I should do differently, let me know in the chat, which I will read once I am done with the video and breakfast. Like while I'm eating breakfast, I'll look through the chat. Sorry about that. There's already too many things to do at once. Yeah, give me your feedback. I'd love to hear from you. And thanks for watching.